Welcome, my people. Happy weekend, happy Sunday. Hope you enjoy your day. I enjoyed mine. So you're welcome again. This is your friend, No Solution. So tonight, I want us to talk about sex, the types, the stages, the function, and all that. But it's going to be part one of part two. So maybe tomorrow, if we have a chance, we'll be able to talk about the part two because when we're talking about sex, it's a very, very broad topic. It's very, very broad. It's not just it's not just something you could just talk about 1 minute, even 1 hour. You're still not getting the whole thing, or you're not getting across to a lot of people as what they would have loved to hear about sex. And either you want to believe it or not, is one of the most important thing in a relationship. Any relationship, be it courtship, dating, marital, or something, sex over time has formed an integral part. You understand, of any relationship that love relationship, so to say. So it's something that is very serious, but most of the times, most of us don't even know the nitty gritty, the fine details, or what it entails, or what sex is all about. What most of us knows is just to unzip, push in your thing as a man, or you are as a woman, open your legs and you believe you're having sex. But sex is far, far more than just opening your zip or zipping down and doing your thing in 1 minute. It has a whole lot of things that is encompassing when we're talking about sex. And when we're talking about sex, is is something that is very common, like I said, and it's some people call it coitus, and some people say it's love making. It depends on your own, on the way you are seeing sex. And when we're talking about sexual activity, it has a whole lot of things. So we got talking about the sexual activity and of course the sexual orientation. And when we're talking about sexual definitions, we have various definitions of sex. But some people will say, okay, maybe according to dictionary, according to sex therapies or something. But I want you to know that every one of us has our own definition of sex. So your own definition of sex, they put two women down, two women together, and they ask them these questions: what is your own definition of sex? What will what will happen on bed when it comes to sexual activities that will make you to say, okay, this is the kind of sex that I want. And of course, if the other one is being called upon to ask, what is your own definition of sex, or what do you enjoy about sex, your compatibility and all that, we have our own definition of sex. Likewise, if two men are called upon at the same time, and these questions are being thrown to the two of them, there might be similarities, and at times there might be great differences between our definition of sex. So what you think is good sex might not be what I want as a good sex. What the other person wants as or think is a bad sex, to some is actually the best. You understand? So the more reason you should know what you want on bed, the more reason it is good to communicate and communicate and communicate. Do you understand? And when there's something we call sexual activities, we have various things that is all encompassing when we're talking about sexual activity. A lot of things is all encompassing. And apart from that, we have a whole lot of things when we talk about sexual activities, the things that are involved when we talk about sex. What are the nitty gritty? When you say sexual activities, what are those things involved in sexual activities? Then, apart from that, we have a definition I would say sexual orientation. What is somebody's sexual orientation? That is why you don't just see somebody and think because they are girl, they are men, they should be straight. there has to be communication, there has to be question, there has to be, talk, so that you know what are the sexual orientation of whoever you are dating or being in a relationship or something with. You understand? Even if it's going to be a one night stand or a relationship where it lasts, when you are having a fling, one or two fling here and there, it definitely is not something that you want to say. It's not, you want to have fling, you still have to keep talking, keep asking questions so that you will not make somebody feel stupid, giving them, bruising their egos, their integrity, and of course their dignities. Hence, you should ask question and question, and you keep talking when you are in a relationship. And of course, when we're talking about sex or sexual activity, it can be penetrative. Penetrative can be from the penis to the vagina. Penetrative can be from the penis to the anus. You understand? So when it happens, it still boils down to your agreement with your partner. Sexual activity could be oral, oral sex. It could be anal sex. It could be vaginal sex. That's what it is on vaginal sex. And when it happens, it's just after the penetrative or non-penetrative that we make a woman or a man to reach orgasm. And of course, there will be resultant semen ejaculation. That is what we call sex. And of course, when we're talking about sex, some people will ask, how long should sex last? It depends on you and your partner. And of course, it depends on the strength of your partner. If your partner has the strength, no, it's not advisable that you should use drugs, or illegal drugs or alcohol or smoke, because at times they will make you feel like you are using aphrodisiac. You understand? But at the long run, they might give you various complications when it comes to a future or your health or your psyche. You understand? So it's not advisable that you should be using, drugs or to have sex to boost. You can use there's some that you can use, but not illicit drug, because those ones there is a way that they will work, and you think, oh, this is the best, whereas it is not. Because giving, if you are not given that kind of environment, you might not be able to thrive when it comes to sexual intercourse. Do you understand? And when we're talking about sex too, the orientation we're talking about, some are straight, some are gay, homosexual, lesbian, transgender. We have a whole lot these days. You don't have to judge anybody. That's the way they feel about themselves, and that's the way they think they can enjoy sex. So it's none of our business to judge anybody. So when we're talking about, when some book of thought said it's 13.6, 13 minutes, 6 seconds. That's the highest that you want that love making or sex can last. Some say it's up to 14 minutes, but some say it's between 33 seconds to 14 minutes. And of course, it might not be the continuous thrusting in and out. You understand? It might be the activities preceding sexual intercourse, like kissing, like rubbing, and all those ones. You understand? And when we're not talking about sex, what are the activities involved when it comes to sex? We have various activities involved. Number one, before you talk about sex, there should be communication. There should be communication. Oh, you are welcome, John. How are you? Happy Sunday. How was church today? So when you talk about sex, there should be communication, because it's not the kind of sex you want to have with yourself. You want to have sex with someone else. There should be mutual consent. And before mutual consent can happen, you understand, there are activities that must have come into play before sex will come into play. You understand? And what are the activities when we're talking about sex? Number one, the types can be kissing. And of course, we have the pecking type just on the cheek, on the forehead, and all that. And of course, it could be the deep kissing that you understand. And the deep kissing is the one that is usually very important when it comes to sex because it's going to make your partner, either the male or the female, to be well lubricated. And of course, it can be fingering, whereby the man uses both male and female right now, the partners use their hands to stimulate each other's. It might be the genitals, it might be the body, it might be just fingering. Just using your finger simply means that you are using your finger to stimulate your partner. And of course, it can be mutual masturbation. And when we're talking about mutual masturbation, it means that you and your partner, you are masturbating your partner, and your partner in turns will come and masturbate you. That is mutual. So it's not something you could do without asking. There should be questions when we're talking about consent. Can I do this? Will you want me to? Will you like this? You understand? So somebody keeping quiet without nothing to know or yes does not mean that the person is ready for sex. And someone can change their mind at any time when it comes to sexual intercourse. They can change their mind. So don't think because he or she has consented ab initio, initially, they still want to continue. So they should, can I, should I? It has to be continuous. And it can be masturbation. That is, when you masturbate yourself in the presence of your partner. So we are talking about sexual activities. And of course, there can be foreplay. And when we're talking about foreplay, it consists of a whole lot of things. Foreplay consists of a whole lot of things. Of course, it can be kissing, necking, rubbing, sweet things. Just there are different places like the back of the ear, the neck, the breast, a whole lot of things when we're talking about foreplay. So you have to, understudy your partner, experiment with each other, explore each other before you can say, okay, I've been able to, understand my partner, and this is what and what they want on bed. It can be sexual activity involves oral sex. And when we're talking about oral sex, it has a whole lot of things that is involved. Hence, you have to, and before you go for oral sex, there has to be questions. Do you know the STI status of that your partner? Because most of the times, people see oral sex as something that is beautiful, that is, how do I put it, is beautiful, is interesting. When you have somebody that can do it really for you, you might, think, oh, even there might not be any need for for deep penetration, which is penile or vagina or something. So oral sex too has its own advantages, and of course it has its own disadvantages. And of course, it might be non-penetrative. Some might not even uh, experience might not like non-penetrative sex. What they want, maybe just to have, various sexual activities that has nothing to do with penetrative sex. It's still part of the something. And of course, there is rubbing. That is the use of your hand. This time around, not the finger. It can be the whole palm. It can be the tips of your finger, just to rub your partner and know, especially if you want to masturbate them. Maybe there's mutual masturbation, or you are masturbating. And of course, it can be touching. You can touch different places. So when you keep exploring, if you meet someone for the first time, you're having sex for the first time, you might not be able to know the fine details of what and what they really want when it comes to sex. But when you're having it 2 3 times, you must be able to, it keeps getting better. It keeps getting better, especially when there is something we call the body chemistry. There's this connection, there's compatibility, sexual compatibility, and you want to, both of you keep coming back, you keep yearning to see yourself again for sex. And of course, it can be vaginal sex. That is, vaginal sex is what we call the penis or vagina. That is vaginal sex. And of course, it can be anal sex. Anal sex can be from a man to a woman, or it can be from a man to man. You understand? It is very common, but it is very essential that if you want to involve yourself in anal sex because of the risk of HIV, hepatitis, various sexually transmitted infection, it is better for you to use condom or dental dams, barrier methods. We have a whole lot of methods that you can use to prevent unintended sexually transmitted infection. You understand? When you're talking about anal sex, you understand? And you should know that one of the effects of anal sex is problem with your sphincter. There's something at the inner canal that we call the sphincter. Is under is the place that opens up. You understand? When you want to poo, and when you want to poo, we have two sphincter there. One is voluntary and the other is involuntary. The voluntary sphincter, when you go into voluntary sphincter, when the poo is ready, when the body activities, metabolism, and digestion has completed, and they want to push it to your anus so that it can come out of the body, there is the one that we call involuntary sphincter. It will open up, and that is telling you that, oh, I'm ready to get out of the body. And immediately that one comes, what happens? The next is the voluntary one. Is the one you as an individual, you have control over. And that control is that I'm not ready to go to the toilet right now. I'm not ready to poo now. You have the control because something Valsalva maneuver, the way you are doing the maneuver, not to poo, you are opening and closing your muscle, like you are doing Kegel exercises that will stop that poo pending the time you think you are ready to void. You understand? So anal sex, when you now keep, pressing, allowing somebody to push their penis into your anus, the sphincter, the involuntary sphincter can become so weak. And most of the time, when you want to pull, you don't know when you want to pull. The pull is just coming out, coming out from your body system. You understand? And of course, you have to be careful when it comes to because of sexually transmitted infection like HIV, hepatitis. You have to make sure you practice safe sex. And when we're talking about safe sex in this context, safe sex is just the activities that is being carried out before sexual intercourse. One of them is consent, communication, consent. When you say consent, you'll be able to know if your partner is transgender, if he's gay, if he's lesbian, if he's homosexual, if he's bisexual, if you know the kind of sexual orientation they have. You understand? That's one of safe sex. Ensure you have your condom. It is very, very vital. Your condom is very, very vital. And of course, apart from this, let's talk about the phases or sexual the phases of sex. You understand? Now, when we're talking about this, there are several activities that are being carried out when we're talking about sex. And these activities, before you reach orgasm, there are several things that happens. Number one thing is the stage or the phase of excitement. You understand? You are excited. You have seen this person and you're planning to have sex. There's excitement. You understand? In this phase, there is muscle tension. The tension, all over your private area, even your body. You understand? There is tension because you are excited. Both the female and the male, there is excitement, and your heart rate quickens. And apart from that, your breathing becomes so accelerated, very fast. You understand? Your breathing becomes so fast. And of course, apart from breathing becoming so fast, time there might be flushed skin. Your skin, there is a way your skin looked flushed because of the tension that you are going through. And there will be increased blood flow to the male reproductive system and the female reproductive system. So when it happens like that, there will be engorgement, or because the blood has already gone there. And if there's no blood flow to the clitoris area, to the vagina area, and to the penis area, there might not be, you have not got into excitement because everything will just be calm in your body. So apart from that, when there is now engorgement of blood, that place is engorged with blood, you are gradually getting closer to to get through with excitement phase. And of course, when the vagina, in this case, the vagina becomes lubricated, and of course, the male semen, the male, uh, the male penis begin to release something we call pre-ejaculate or pre-cum. And at times, if it is not careful, even pre-cum can turn to pregnancy, can impregnate a woman, can fertilize. If it is very, strong, it can fertilize the female egg, and it will lead to unintended pregnancy. So it is not enough to, allow the tension to kill you, to how do I put it? It's not enough to allow tension to hold you down. You have to be well prepared in order to avoid, if you don't want to make babies, you should be careful, right? Then, of course, it makes the vagina to be well lubricated, and when vagina is well lubricated, there might not be any need for any using of lubes, because at times when the vagina is not properly lubricated, maybe due to various health conditions or menopause in women or something, you might need to, use water base or whatever you want to use to make the body, to make the vagina well lubricated. And apart from that, there is what we call plateau state. And in this plateau state, what happened actually is just the continuation, but more advanced symptom of the excitement phase. The muscle tension increases the more, the blood flow increases the more, the lubrication, continue, the heart rate becomes more accelerated, your breathing is intensified, the whole body is just there as if you are not ready, as if you are now ready because you have started various activities, starting from the excitement, and here you are at the plateau state. Your pulse rate, your heart rate, your breathing, everything increases over time. And of course, the third stage of sexual intercourse is what we call orgasm. And when we're talking about this orgasm, it's just involuntary. This time you can't control it. At times you want to feel like you feel like you're coming. As a man, you are able to hold it, especially if you're going through premature ejaculation and you are doing the pause and the stop and the pause and stop technique, you understand, just to be able to stay longer or with your woman before you ejaculate. So except you are doing that, and then when you are not even doing it, there will be serious involuntary muscle. You lose the muscle control. There is tension on the muscles of the penis, and of course the heart rate continues, the pulse rate continues, and of course at the same time, immediately after the breathing, woman too must have gone through sexual rich orgasm. You understand, because there has been thrusting in and out of a vagina, and of course there's when this one, there will now be a first male sperm, and told you that we said the other time that when we're talking about sperm, it has a lot of composition, semen from the seminal vesicle, prostate fluid, and a whole lot of things. Body becomes calm, the the flushed skin becomes normal, your heart rate gradually returning to normal, your pulse rate, your breathing, your muscle tensions, everything returning to normal. And I want you to know that in women, it is possible for the woman to just start immediately. You understand? Immediately after sex, they are able to do something. But when it comes to men, there's something we call refractory phase. And that refractory phase is the phase that a man, after reaching orgasm, they have to, relax before their penis could start to work all over again. But for some women, immediately after orgasm, they can still have sex if they are ready, if their partner is ready. But in men, there's refractive phase. And when there's refractive phase, men are not usually able to stand to have an erection immediately after sexual intercourse. So let's talk about the major function before we now, tomorrow, by His grace, we now go into the benefit to the women and, of course, the sexual benefit to the men, and how we can, make our spouses or our partners or our girlfriend, boyfriend to enjoy good sex, and we too, how we can enjoy sex with them. So, number one, function of sex is psychological. And when we're talking about psychological, men are moved by what they see. You understand? They see a woman they like, they see someone with good shape, good eyes, good body, immediately they are moved. They don't need to be romanced, they don't need to be touched most of the time. They can have sex without no emotion most of the time. You understand? Because of their nature. That's why it is very, very common for men to cheat, because it is their nature. Not that they are flirts, not that they are useless, but the way they see something, immediately their brain processes it and straight into their penis, and the penis is ready, erected, fully erected at angle. So, but for women, you have to pet, sweet, sweet, not sweet things, kiss, neck, rub, and all those things before the women get ready. So that's why it seems as if when you see men, it will look as if they are just flat because they are just running after anything. Instead, it's psychological from their brain. And of course, we have the physiological function. And when we're talking about the physiological, it's just your body, the benefit on your body, which we'll be discussing tomorrow. And there is that's physiological. The benefit on your heart, the benefit on your brain, benefit on your mind, benefit on even your day-to-day activities. Sex has a lot of wonderful benefit that we'll be talking about by tomorrow. And of course, it can be as a function of reproduction. You understand? Reproduction, you want to have children for continuity of your lineage. That is the importance. That's importance of sex. The main function of sexual intercourse. It can be as a result of self-relief to reduce burnout, and it can be as a result of intimacy and all that. So when we'll be meeting, we'll be able to talk about what are the benefit, the sexual health benefit. Then we'll be able to we'll be also be talking about the sexual health. What is sexual health? Before we now go to sexual health benefit, both in male and in female. You understand? So by and large, we'll be able to talk about sex, talk about the definition, different folks with different definition. We talk about the various sexual activities like rubbing, kissing, necking, foreplay, oral play, inner sex, oral sex, penetrative sex, non-penetrative sex, and of course, we said sex is something you do which is penetrative that can lead to orgasm or semen ejaculation in men. You understand? And of course, there's some people, they say sexual intercourse is usually between 33 seconds to 14 minutes. You understand? So some people say it's 33 seconds to 13.6, 13 minutes, 6 seconds. Different school of thoughts, like we have different uh, definition of sex. And of course, we're able to talk about various stages of sexual intercourse, where we talked about the excitement, and of course, the various things under excitement, the way your muscle tension increases, the way your heart rate, your breathing, your pulse rate increases, flushed skin, and you are shaking, and there's blood flow leading to engorgement of the vagina, the clitoris, and of course the male sex organ. And of course, the vagina will become well lubricated and that become or pre-ejaculate in men. So we're able to talk about that. And of course, again, we talked about the plateau state. That is, this place, there's increase of all those things that we said under excitement phase. And when it happens like that, what happens? You move straight to orgasm. Orgasm, there's increase, but eventually there will be release of sperm. And when sperm is being released, there will be calmness to the body of the female. And of course, before we now go to resolution, when you're talking about resolution, this time you have reached orgasm, your body is more calm. And of course, when we're talking about the resolution, here, the swollenness, the muscle tension, all of them is reduced. And of course, in this place, it is possible for a woman to want to have sex almost immediately, but it's not too easy for men most of the time, especially except they are illicit drugs or they are drinking some things, because there's a place of refractory period. That's the place for the man to gather himself before another erection is you are ready for another erection. So of course, and we've been able to talk about the various functions of sex, and we said it includes the psychological, the physiological, the intimacy, the reproductive function. So I'm your friend, no solution. So till I see you next time. Bye bye for now, and thanks for joining.